Hello. Welcome to the Goods. I know that you have been looking at us wearing our Fly Goods podcast gear and wondering where can we get those. Well, guess what? We have the answers for you. We have it here, Teespring. Go to Teespring and you will find all of this glorious merchandising, from t-shirts to mugs to, well, there's other toys, but we can't talk about that now. Go to Teespring, enjoy our memorabilia.
And we're back. All flash, no substance. It's another top 5 that we're doing solo. I think this is probably going to be the norm going forward, I guess, but maybe we'll get back into doing these together as a duo. But seeing that we are still kind of finishing out our Halloween horror month, which is kind of technically over, today's top 5 is going to be the top 5 horror video games. I know it's a little late, but horror and video games kind of make a match made in heaven. One, because you get to do more in a horror video game than you get to do in a live action movie. So you can take more liberties, you could show more things, and kind of get away with it in horror in a video game, which is why some of the most terrifying things that I saw in life have been in a video game. So we're gonna go through my favorite ones. So that's gonna start with number 5. Number 5 is actually going to be, and this one kind of floats the line, PT. PT is technically a playable trailer, more of a demo, but a long version of a demo. So long, I think it took me like 45 minutes to an hour to kind of get through this whole thing. But the visuals were thought of by Guillermo del Toro, master of horror. So much so, and the way that you play the game, it built so much dread. As you went through hallways and through doors, things changed. When you came out, it was a different scenario, and you were kind of haunted by this woman, this tall woman standing at the edge, and voices that you heard behind you telling you to turn and don't look around, answering the telephone, things melting and kind of changing. I'm like, man, this trailer playable demo was creepy as hell, so much that it is never got made, but people still bought old PS3s or old PS4s. I can't remember, was it on PS3 or PS4? I think it was on PS3. Old PS3s, just so they could still get a copy of the game, which I still do. So if you want to buy mine, I'll sell it to you so you can play the game as well. But this game is creepy. I didn't ever want to play it in the dark. I played it in the daytime, and I enjoyed every single bit of it. I'm very, very sad that they had a falling out with Konami. I believe it was Konami. So that way they couldn't get this game made. Maybe one day it'll happen in the future. Possibly. So that brings me to number 4. Number 4, I went with a game that I actually got because it was a free game off my PlayStation Plus, and it was called Limbo. Now, Limbo takes you, it seems like you're kind of maybe in like a purgatory, well, in limbo, but you're this little silhouette character kid that's walking through limbo, and everything in there wants to kill you, from spiders to traps and monsters and stuff like that. And it's all very silent, and there's like a slow, silent, moody music that plays with it. And every time that you mess up or get caught, it's a gruesome death for this little kid. I mean, like decapitations, being swallowed and eaten, like gruesomely, like kind of chomped down on it. Man, it is such a thing that where like you think it's gonna be a fun, kind of innocent video game, and it gets dark so quickly in this game. I love it so much. I played it so long. I probably wasn't the best at the game because I died so many times in this game. In most games, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. But every time, it was almost a new death for me, falling and being impaled. This game is really good if you haven't had an opportunity to play it. All right, so that's gonna bring me to my number 3. Number 3, and I went with Dead Space. So one of the great things about one of my favorite sci-fi horror films is Alien, where like you're in the middle of space, so there is not much that you can really do. One of the trailers used to say that you in space no one can hear you scream. So Dead Space kind of invokes a lot of that same fear, where like I am stranded out here. You're a an engineer, repair person. I can't remember what his actual title was on the ship, and it's been infested with aliens, kind of like Thing-esque aliens, where they're like kind of mutated and like the weirdest, grotesque aliens that you can think of. And you have no weapons. All you have is kind of like the tools that you would normally use to fix on the ship, and you got to fashion those into weapons and kind of take these things down. One of the great things that gives you that much more fear is that you don't have your normal heads up as you have in most video games, giving you stats and like health bars, and it's like you see everything, so it kind of disconnects you from the horror of the game. This one integrates all of that into his suit, where you see life bars on the back of him, and it just looks like the power level of his suit, so you really feel like you're immersed in the game, and you're just kind of walking through empty corridors and all over the ship where you don't know what's going to jump out and kill you, or what you're going to see from a kind of like oh my god, what happened here type moment. I love that game. I didn't play any of the sequels, but the first one is what really got me, and that's a scary game. All right, so that's gonna bring me to number two. Number two, I actually went with Silent Hill. So one of the things I talked about with Dead Space is that you didn't have weapons, and one of the scary things about any particular situation where something's hunting you, if you can't fight back, it makes it that much more scary. And Silent Hill puts you in a town where it's basically demons, and you have nothing to fight back with but like a flashlight for you to try to get away. Maybe you can pick up a pipe or something on there, but you don't have anything efficient to really take these demons down. So it's most of the time of you just really trying to get away from these things and try to understand the story, and the story unbuilds, and the story is really, really creepy as hell, to kind of figure out where you're at and what Silent Hill, the little town, is. But going through each area is probably some of the most intense things that you can possibly do, and knowing that there's not much you can really do to kind of stop this thing. All you want to do is just run. That's the theme of Silent Hill. That should have been in the marketing trailer. But anyway, so that's gonna bring me to my number one. And number one, I feel like, is an obvious one. I am a big Resident Evil fan, and Resident Evil probably for me was my introduction into video game horror. On the original PlayStation, I'm dating myself. The original PlayStation, I got that game and I decided like, oh cool, it's got a zombie on the cover. It was probably close to Halloween. I think it came out in September. I was like, let me play this game. And I was like so scared playing it, and I was young, but I was so scared playing this video game because it was the first time I really got to see the horror aspects brought into a video game. From the time the zombie first turns around and looks at you, to the time you first see a licker in the hallway, to when you get deeper in the game and the hunters are trying to get you. And it's like, yes, you did have weapons in it, and yes, you kind of were a soldier in it, but it didn't take didn't take away the fact that when you were being introduced to these things, this is the first time you're really seeing this in a game, and it's super, super scary, especially if you're playing it at night. Don't play it. Your kid and you're playing Resident Evil, don't play it at night. Which is why this game has gotten remade so many times, because it's an iconic game, and it's everybody's introduction into what was then deemed survival horror. I had to put Resident Evil as my number one. All right. So that's going to bring me to honorable mentions. So I'm going to read from my list because I got quite a few of them. What I have for honorable mentions, I put Until Dawn, even though it was kind of like a role play, choose your own adventure game, but it still had a lot of the old school movie horror tropes, and I thought it was a really cool game. And some of it, like you got surprise kills that you weren't expecting, but it did have some video game aspects to it, where you did get to move around and kind of check for things and look for things. But it was a choose your own adventure, so if you did something and you cost somebody's life and they were gone. Other one that I put on here, Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight seemed more along the line of like for MMO to me, where like you're playing with a bunch of people. So I kind of lose the simple of a lot of the horror aspect of it, even though it had so many expansions where they added on different horror and serial killers and slashers into the video game itself. But playing with friends dropped it down. But when you know that you're having to run from somebody who has that much more power over you, it definitely makes it scary. Other one that I put down here as an honorable mention was The Evil Within. This game basically is full of blood. And that's most thing I remember about The Evil Within, is that it's just ounces and gallons of blood no matter where you go, and the most grotesque demons that you can think of coming out of nowhere. I think it was like a portal to hell was the theme for The Evil Within. One of the games that were like I had to play it in the daytimes, and I never really actually got to the end of that one, probably why it's on my honorable mentions. But it's definitely a scary game. And the last one that I have as an honorable mention is Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, who hasn't gone to like a Chuck E. Cheese and saw those things and thought, man, those are creepy. I wonder what it's like at nighttime here in this place. And Five Nights at Freddy's lets you experience those things coming to life and being the worst part of your nightmares about Chuck E. Cheese. All right, so that's all I got for my top 5. Make sure you put your top 5 in the comments below. Make sure you either mix up my list, use some of the ones that I didn't have on there, or if you know some ones that I didn't touch on, please add them to the list so we can talk about it in the comments below. As well as go to our merch store at Teespring. And I am not wearing one of our t-shirts. I'm pointing it because I'm normally wearing one of the t-shirts, but you go out there and get one of our t-shirts from Teespring. We have tons of different designs, masks, cups, everything that you can want as a as a supporter of the goods. As well as if this is the first time that you're on the channel, make sure you go to our subscribe button, as well as click the notification button, so that way you're aware of all the other things that we do on the channel. All right, so that's all I got for my top 5 today. Make sure you guys put your top 5 in the list below, and I'll see you.
Real quick, if you're still here, because we do these into the video little blooper things. If you're still here, look down. There's a link here for Patreon. If you guys like the show, please give us money. Give us money. We'll take a penny. We'll take a nickel. We'll take a dime. We'll take $1. We have some stuff on there that we're giving away on Patreon if you do contribute, because trust me, we need help. We need help. We want to buy new equipment, and we need an editor. Somebody who doesn't have to stay up in the middle of the night. Or they don't have to stay up in the middle, but I won't have to do it. So please, down, patreon.com/thegoods. It's in the link. Please do it. We appreciate it. Top flight.